Welcome to this explainer. We're right in the middle of a massive paradigm shift happening literally right above our heads. Today, we're looking at how the whole conversation around UAPs, unidentified anomalous phenomena, has completely morphed. It's gone from fringe, tinfoil hat conspiracy theories to the subject of serious high-level global science. This shift really kicked off when the long-standing wall of silence finally broke. For decades, the official government stance on these anomalies was, well, practically a joke. But that cracked wide open when former President Barack Obama casually acknowledged them on TV, flat out stating, "They're real, but I haven't seen them." Those few words were a total game changer. It signaled from the very top that, hey, there is a legitimate mystery in our skies. So here is our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at how the veil lifts. Then, we'll dive into the declassified evidence. Third, we'll explore global investigations. Fourth, we'll check out the scientific hunt. And finally, we'll ask the big question, are we ready? All right, jumping into section 1, the veil of secrecy lifts.
It is honestly staggering just how fast government transparency has accelerated recently. Back in 2017, the public was completely blindsided by the revelation of a secret $22 million program looking into aerospace threats. Fast forward to 2022, and the Pentagon had officially set up AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, to investigate this stuff formally. Then, 2023 brought those unprecedented congressional hearings, which ultimately paved the way for the UAP Disclosure Act of 2024, finally setting up a real structured system for getting government records out into the open.
And during those 2023 hearings, former intelligence official David Grusch stepped up under oath with some incredibly explosive claims. Now, to be clear, these are currently unverified, but he stated that the U.S. isn't just passively watching anomalies. He claimed they are actively holding intact non-human craft, and even pilot remains tucked away in secret access programs to entirely bypass congressional oversight. Basically, he described a massive, shadowy international arms race to reverse engineer alien tech. Wild, right? But even if you set those wild claims aside for a second, the day-to-day reality inside the Pentagon is just as fascinating. Their AARO office filters through thousands of UAP reports every single year, weeding out the obvious stuff like weather balloons, drones, and birds. But here's the absolute kicker. 2 to 5% of these sightings actually survive that rigorous filter. They remain totally unexplained, even to the world's most advanced military sensors pointing right at them. Moving right along to Section 2, declassified. Analyzing the evidence. When you look at the declassified files, the sheer variety of anomalies the Pentagon is tracking is totally mind-bending. Take file PR-28, for example. We're talking about an inverted teardrop shape over Greece moving at 500 miles per hour, but it was only visible on shortwave infrared, and it literally vanished midair. Or PR-34, a tiny orb zipping along at 80 miles per hour and making impossible, sharp 90-degree turns. And then there's PR-38, a bizarre 8-pointed star that moves completely erratically while leaving a visible trail. You really can't make this stuff up. Now, to keep a level head, we really have to look at both sides of the coin here. Skeptics make a totally fair point. They argue this grainy footage often just shows mundane things like military parachute flares or drones, but they look weird because they're heavily distorted by the camera lenses or the parallax effect. But on the flip side, enthusiasts argue that objects pulling high-speed right-angle turns with zero exhaust plumes, well, they say that proves the existence of gravity-bending, otherworldly technology. But because the U.S. data can often be so ambiguous, heavily classified, or endlessly debated, we really have to look beyond American borders to get the full picture. This isn't just an American phenomenon, it's a worldwide pursuit. Which brings us to Section 3, a global investigative effort. Governments all over the globe are officially recognizing UAPs as a serious matter. France's GPAN agency has actually been posting transparent scientific public archives since 2007. Brazil literally passed a decree that all UAP sightings have to go straight to their public national archives. Up north, Canada is launching the Sky Canada project to modernize their scientific tracking by 2025. And over in Japan, they're officially tracking a rise in anomalous activity in their own airspace and taking it increasingly seriously. Let's transition over to the hard data. Section 4, the scientific hunt begins. For decades, the classic SETI approach was entirely passive. Scientists were basically just listening for intentional radio waves, crossing their fingers that aliens would call us while drowning in all of our own planet's radio noise. But Harvard's Galileo Project, that is a massive paradigm shift. Scientists are totally done just listening. Now they're actively hunting for physical anomalies using optical cameras and custom artificial intelligence.
And the methodology behind the Galileo Project is absolutely brilliant. They use fisheye lenses, infrared, and audio sensors to capture the entire sky. But the true genius is in their AI. It isn't explicitly looking for flying saucers. Instead, it learns exactly what normal sky traffic looks like: birds, commercial planes, balloons, and it just deletes 99.9% of that data. It strictly flags the tiny fraction of objects that break the laws of known physics.
And speaking of breaking physics, we have to talk about Oumuamua. Back in 2017, this weird cigar-shaped interstellar object sliced through our solar system at a staggering 59,000 miles per hour. But what truly dropped scientists' jaws was that it actually accelerated as it left our solar system. And it did this without any cometary tail or outgassing to propel it. It demonstrated an acceleration that is just flat out impossible for a mere rock. Taking it a step further, the Galileo team actually tracked down the remnants of IM-1, an interstellar meteor from 2014. This thing withstood a record-breaking 194 megapascals of atmospheric pressure before it finally exploded. The team dragged a magnetic sled across the bottom of the Pacific Ocean and recovered over 700 metallic spheres. When they analyzed them in a lab, the spheres showed a unique chemical pattern they call BLAU: beryllium, lanthanum, uranium. This strongly suggests materials that are fundamentally unearthly or, potentially even artificial.
Okay, Section 5. Are we ready for contact?
Let's play this out for a second. The sudden confirmation of non-human intelligence wouldn't just be a cool news day. It could trigger total societal and religious upheaval. We would almost certainly see a chaotic technological arms race as nations scramble to get their hands on alien tech. And, historically speaking, contact between vastly different civilizations carries terrifying risks. Think colonial exploitation or the introduction of novel biological diseases. Plus, the legal and political ramifications, entirely unpredictable. But here's a totally different perspective to chew on. What if our first contact isn't something waiting for us in the future, but something that already happened in our deep past? The panspermia hypothesis suggests that the building blocks of life are actually transported across the universe via comets or space dust. So it's theoretically possible that our planet was seeded, whether accidentally or deliberately, billions of years ago. Now, to prevent utter chaos if we do find something today, the International Academy of Astronautics actually developed a strict first contact protocol. The steps are pretty logical: verify the origin, communicate with partner nations, inform the astronomical community, make a public announcement, and then share the scientific data. But let's be real for a minute. Whether fiercely competitive global superpowers would actually follow a polite, orderly checklist during the greatest discovery in human history, that remains highly debated. And that naturally brings us to a lingering doubt we can't ignore. Despite all these new disclosure laws and shiny new investigation offices, a ton of deep skepticism remains. Some experts argue that global powers might still be using strategic misdirection. There's a famous saying, the only thing better than hiding something from the public is giving them something else to look at. So we have to wonder, are these declassified videos the whole truth, or just a really well-crafted distraction? Ultimately, the biggest takeaway from this explainer is this. While the era of tinfoil hats and total government denial is officially in the rearview mirror, the real hard work has only just begun. The veil of secrecy is definitely lifting, but that ultimate truth, it's still hovering right there at the very edge of our scientific reach. With declassified military footage coming out, credible whistleblowers testifying under oath, and cutting-edge artificial intelligence scanning the skies 24/7, we are absolutely forced to confront the ultimate question. Are we truly alone in the universe, or are we just finally opening our eyes to the evidence that's been right here all along? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep your eyes on the skies, and I'll catch you in the next one.